What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about tensile structures or tensile canopies inside of Revit. So this is one of those topics I have been asked a few times, and I decided to, well, now it might be a good time to create this video. And I really like this topic because I was always fascinated with interesting geometry, and especially creating or generating interesting geometry within Revit. I always find that really fun. So I hope you're going to like this video. It was a lot of fun just researching this topic. I did have this old video where I show you how to create one of these shapes, but it's kind of very basic, and I wanted to expand on that, and we're actually going to be creating some adaptive families, adaptive components for these tensile canopies. I have seen a few videos on YouTube. Different people have different approaches, and I just want to show you kind of the general approach, and then how you can modify it to make it more complicated, and then how you can add it to have either 4 points or 3 points and so on. So it's going to have kind of let's call it a multi-layer tutorial. Now, before I get into Revit, just quickly I would like to ask you to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com. I'm going to link it just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. There I have an entire course on adaptive components in Revit, which is, well, what we're going to be using in this video. So if you want to explore that topic in depth, I should suggest you check out that course. And then also I have another course where I talk about advanced massing and conceptual massing inside of Revit for generating complex forms and turning them into actual building geometry with building elements. So that might interest you as well. Also there you can find my templates, you can find some really high quality Revit families, and a plugin. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into Revit. So as you can see here, I am at the home screen, so I'm just going to go here to a new project. I'm going to be using my custom Balkan Architect template. As I said, that's available on my website. And then as soon as Revit starts up, we're not going to be doing anything in the project environment right now. First we want to create the tensile canopy, and we do that as a family, and then we load that back into the project and place it in the project. So I'm going to leave that for a little later on, working inside of the project. So the next step is to just go here to the file menu, go to new, and as I said, it's going to be a family, so just click on family, and then here it's really important to pick out the correct family template. So the template you want to use for adaptive components is the metric generic model adaptive. So it has the word adaptive, that's the one you want to use. So it's going to open up that, and it's going to look like the massing environment, and the tools are going to be like out of the massing environment. So this is perfect for creating our tensile canopy. So the first thing I like to do is I like to place 4 points in a perfect square. So to get that perfect square, let's go here to the reference plane, zoom in a little bit, and then I'm just going to be placing one align. Oops, let's go with the reference plane. Yeah. Like that, and here you can see this, the units are in millimeters, so I'm just going to change that here on project units, and let's just switch that into centimeters. So centimeters, okay. I tend to think in centimeters, so that's why I set it to this. So anyways, it's going to be 300 on one side, and we're going to select that. I'm going to go here to mirror, pick axis, mirror it around, hit the escape key a few times, hold the control key, select both of those, go to rotate, copy, so make sure to check copy, and make sure to place the center of rotation exactly, well, in the center. And then you just rotate that by 90 degrees, and now we have a perfect square. Okay, so once we have this, what you want to do next is zoom in a little bit, go to a point element, and then you just want to place 4 of those all the way around, like this. Hit the escape key a couple of times, you can go back to the 3D view, and now you can just make a broad selection. Make sure that only points are selected, and here it's going to say reference points 4, so we know that only these 4 are selected. Then you go here to make adaptive, and now they're all going to get numbered, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure it's going kind of in a circle, so it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not kind of crisscross, I guess. You don't want that because it's going to make the placement a bit more difficult. Anyways, once you have this, you want to connect them. Now, the best way to connect points is using the spline through points, just because then when you move the point, the spline is going to move according to those kind of beginning and end points. So you just select 2 points like this, you go to spline through points, and then it's going to connect those. Now this is just a regular line, so you want to go here to the properties and check is reference. And now it's a reference line. And then you repeat the process. So spline through points, check is reference. There we go. And then you repeat that again. So there is a little bit of repetition here, but yeah, that's what we have inside of Revit when we work on these types of structures. So there we go. Okay, so we have some sort of a frame, let's say. And if you're annoyed with these reference planes that we used to position the points, you can just select them and delete them if you don't want to see them. Okay, so once we have this, our tensile canopy isn't really going to be a perfect square. It's usually going to be a little bit kind of going on the inside, kind of in the middle. So it's going to go from this point and then a little bit on the inside, like it has a little waist, and then it's going to connect to the next point. So that's what it's going to look like. So now we want to create that shape. And also one more thing, the reason why we used spline through points is now if I select a point and move it up, see how the lines follow that, so that's quite cool. So anyways, how do we do that? Well, we need to connect these, kind of find the center lines or the center points and then the central lines. So you do that again by using the point element. You want to make sure that draw on face is selected, and then once you place it like this, on the midpoint, for example, and I'm actually going to place it on midpoints on all sides. Now, once you select this and when you move it, you can see that that point will stay on that reference plane. So that's what you want to have. You want that behavior. Let's go back. Also, one more thing, this is really important. This is something that we're going to be using throughout this tutorial, and that is the normalized curve parameter. So this is basically determining the position of this point along the length of this line. So see how it says normalized curve parameter, and then it's set to 0.5, so that's half. 0.5, it goes from 0 to 1, and 0.5 is obviously half. So if I set it to 0.1 and then hit apply, as you can see, it's going to go here at like 10% of the length. If I set it to 0.7, it's going to go up to 70% of the length. So basically that one parameter can control the position of that point on the line, and we're going to be kind of relying on this heavily. Okay, anyways, let's move forward. Now you want to select these 2 points, and then you want to have a spline go through them as well, and you want the same thing on this side. So spline through points, and then is reference. Okay, so once we have this, now we want to add even more points to add kind of the position of that kind of inner, let's call it a waist point. So I'm just going to go here to the point element and then just place it like this on all of these. Now you want to select those point elements, and here it's going to say 0.91. So I just like to round it off at 0.9 on this side, so that's like 90% of the length, or it's at least like 1/10 here. And then this one is also going to be 1/10 from here, which is not 9 but 0.1, because it's, well, on the other side. And then you just repeat that here. So this one's 0.9, and this one you can see it's, yeah, this one should be 0.1. Perfect. Okay, so now once we have this, for kind of the first iteration of this tensile canopy, we're almost done because we only have a few more steps. So the next step is to select 0.1, hold the control key, select this inner point, and then select 0.2, go to spline through points, it's going to connect them like that, and then you turn on is reference. There we go. Now the reason why we're using this really complicated approach of spline through points and hosting points on lines and so on is because you can see that we have pretty much a lot of complexity here, but if we flex this, it's all going to keep its shape, so it's really powerful. So that's why you want to have that, I guess you can say, a bit more complicated approach. Okay, moving forward, we want to do the same thing here on the inside, so spline through points. It's going to connect those 2 points, make it reference. So you can't see it because it's kind of overlapping, but you get the point. And then you repeat the same thing here in the back. So spline through points, is reference, and there we go. So now I just select this line here, hold the control key, select this line and this line, go to create form, and there we go. We have a tensile canopy. And then if you move anything, you can see that the whole thing will move. So now when you go into the project, you just define these 4 points and it's going to generate this tensile canopy in between those. So you can fit it in whatever project you have. Now, of course, in some cases, you're gonna want to have a bit more complexity. So let me show you how to make the more complicated version. So I'm just going to go back a few steps, like this. Yeah, a few more. So yeah, so we're kind of at this point. Okay, so now what I'm going to do in this case is what you want to have is basically some sort of a midpoint here that's going to be a little lower. So when you have a tensile canopy, usually because of the weight of it, or especially if it rains or something, you're going to have a little bit of an indentation in the middle. So we want to simulate that here on our kind of canopy. So you can do that by going here to the point element, and then we want to place it in the middle of one of these. Make sure to go here to draw on face, and then it doesn't really matter which one, so just want to have one point here in the middle. Hit the escape key a few times. There we go. So once we have this point, now what I want to do is place another point hosted on that point, but on the horizontal reference plane of that point. So you can do that by going here to set work plane. You hover over the point, and the first option is going to be the one that's perpendicular to the line on which it's placed. But if I hit the tab key once or twice, you're going to see, okay, let's try that again. There we go. This one is horizontal, and then you want to click, and now we can place another point on that. Just make sure that here it's set to draw on a work plane for this one, and then we just place it on that point. We're going to get an error warning. That's okay. Now we can select that point, and if I move it down, you can see that here we have an offset parameter that's going to move essentially with how far I move this. So I'm just going to set that to -30. And then there we go. And now this is going to simulate that little indentation in the middle. Also, what you want to do here is you want to actually delete these 2 points. Yeah, so I want to just delete these 2, and then what I'm going to do is just select this, hold the control key, select this one, and then run a spline through those points. And let's check is reference. There we go. And now we have this spline that kind of has that indentation. Now you can do that the same thing here. You can create like an offset, and then you can have a spline that follows that. So yeah, let's actually do that just to make it even more accurate. So again, you want to have these 3, go to spline through points, again make sure that it says is reference. Perfect. And now let's add a point. So basically all of those points that we had on all 4 sides on top, now we want on these kind of curved reference planes or reference lines. Again, make sure that the draw on face is selected, and then you can just host them directly on the lines, just like that. Hit the escape key a few times. You select this, and then this was 0.9. And also just make sure, just to make sure that you understand completely, this is not referring to an actual dimension, but basically a percentage or a ratio. So it doesn't matter if this is 1 meter long or 100 meters long. If it's 1 meter long, this is going to be like 0.1. Or if it's 100 meters long, this length is going to be 10 meters. So it's always just that kind of, it's just referring to the percentage. So again, let's go here. This one's 0.1, and I think I have them now all set. Perfect. And now we just repeat the same process. So just select this point here. Just use the tab key a few times if you cannot pinpoint that point. Make sure it says is reference. You want to do the same thing here, so just this point here, hold the control key, select this point and this point. Again, spline through points is reference. There we go. And then you just, oops, let's try that again. So there we go. And then this point as well, so just holding the control key and then just generating a line there. Perfect. And then just make sure that it says is reference. And now if I select this one, now make sure you only select the smaller one in the middle, don't select the whole chain, so just the smaller one, and then this one, and when we go to create form, we get that tensile canopy that has that little indentation in the middle. And now, it doesn't matter how much we move this, the whole thing flexes, so the whole thing moves. Now, one thing that I like to do is I like to make sure that at least this has a parameter for this offset that I can change whenever I want. So I'm just going to go here to associate family parameter. I'm going to generate a new parameter, let's call it offset, and we can make it an instance parameter. I like to see that here in the properties panel. You hit apply, there we go. Okay, so now this is pretty much done. So let me just show you how this looks inside of a project. So let's go here into our project, and before we load in our canopy, I just want to make sure that I have somewhere to host that. So what I'm going to do here is go again to the reference plane and just place a few reference planes like this, just a couple of reference planes. This one I'm going to name reference plane number 1. This one is going to be reference plane number 2. And now if I go to the south elevation, let's open that up, there we go. Now I can go here and I can go to structure, and then I can place columns there, and I can just host them on that reference plane 1 for the south elevation. And then I can come here and I can say, I don't know, I want a column that's, because I like to have these kind of slanted columns for my tensile structures. I think it just looks a bit cooler. I can move it like this, and if you change it to fine level of detail, you can see them better. Actually, I really hate this column because it's way too big. So let's go to insert, load family, and then let's just load something that works a little bit better. Structural framing, steel. I think I have something like a round hollow. Is it, let's see, round bars. Is there like a hollow one? There should be a hollow. Yeah, let's just use this one. I don't want to search for it. And then for the diameter, let's just go with something a bit bigger, but not too big. I don't know, let's go with something like this. I realize I'm kind of flying through a little bit with these, but if you wanna check out like the slow step-by-step tutorial, then I suggest you check it out on my website. I have a whole course where I can kind of go through this really slowly, step by step. Okay, so I think it's this one. Oops, no, it's not. Okay, this is really annoying. Let's just use timber. I don't know where that one is. Timber here as well. There we go. And then let's move to the east elevation. And then here, make sure it's fine level of detail. And then in the east elevation, I'm just going to go to structural column. Now this is reference plane number 2. Click OK. And then here, we can kind of do the same thing. Now like a slanted column, like this, and then here like that, and then just change the family to that timber column. And now if I go back here and let's go into the 3D view, it looks something like this. I think it's an interesting kind of type of structure to place your canopy over. And now if I go back to my family, there we go, and make sure to save your families before loading them in. I'm just going to save it on desktop as I don't know, like canopy 4 points, because we're going to be creating a 3.1 just in a minute now. And let's load that into the project. And now to place it, you go to the 3D view, and then you go one click here, one click here. So you just kind of follow that, go all the way around. And there we go, we have that canopy, and it looks really good. And you can always change this parameter to -0.5, for example, if you want to have a bigger indentation there in the middle. And I think this looks really, really good. So I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. Okay, and now really quickly, let me just show you the 3.1. So I'm just going to go here to File, New Family, and then let's scroll down to Generic model adaptive, hit open, and now instead of 4 points, we just want to have 3 points, so it's kind of similar. Let me just go here. Well, it's similar, but it's different. So let me just get some kind of, okay, let's switch to centimeters first. Okay, and now just to kind of have some idea of the dimensions here. Okay, this is going to be really large, so let's just place this. I just like to have something to kind of give me an idea of what the dimensions are. So let's place 1 point here, 1 point here, and then 1 point there. Perfect. Okay, so let's go back to the 3D view. You select all of these, and again you make these points adaptive. Then you connect them, so it's the same story. Spline through points is reference, spline through points is reference, and again it's the same story here. So once we have this, for this one you want to again play a little bit with some points. So you want to place one in the middle here, one in the middle here, one in the middle here. You hit the escape key a few times, you connect this one with this one, and then the same thing goes for these two to get kind of our basic structure, so to speak. Okay, so once we have this, then what you want to do next is you want to have that midpoint, you know, the one in the middle that's going to give you that indentation. So let's select this point here. There we go. Place it there. You go to set work plane, and I'm going over this a little bit more quickly just because I don't want to waste your time. But if you've watched kind of the beginning one, you understand what's going on here. So let's go to minus, yeah, let's go with minus 30. I think that's fine. Perfect. And now you just want to do the same thing on both sides. So let's go like this. Spline through points is reference. There we go. And then we can do the same thing like this. Okay, and oops. Just make sure to hit the tab key to select just one, and let's make it a reference. And then I'm just going to place 4 points like this. Actually, now that I think about it, do I need a point here? Oh yeah, I think I do. So let me just place because you have kind of this only 1 point here, or yeah. So you want to just place a point that's really kind of close in. Let's just see here, just like that, and then 1 point here. So when you select these points, they're going to be like really close, like 99. Let's go 0.99. Okay, this one as well. Perfect. Okay, so once you have all of these in place, now it's time to kind of start connecting everything. So what you want to do is just go like this. So I think that if we go with this point here, and then this point here, and we want to go with spline through points is reference, check that on. Perfect. You want to repeat the same thing on the other side. So again, it's this point here, and then this point here. Spline through points is reference. Okay, so once we have these in place, we also want one in the middle. So I don't like using this point here, so what I'm going to do then is on this line here, so that's this line here, on the bottom one, I like to place a point, and then on that one, I'm just going to make sure it's 99, that's okay, the position is fine. So you just want to select that point here, this point here, and then this point here, and just make sure that, so spline through points, and make sure that it's a reference line. Okay, so once we have all of this done, we can select this line, and then this line, and go to create form, and it's going to generate a 3-point canopy. Also, of course, you can select this middle point now, just to go to the offset and create a parameter for that. So this is the offset parameter. Again, let's make it an instance parameter. Click OK again, and we're done. And again, if you change anything, everything kind of flexes along, and that's the beauty of these adaptive components. So now let's just load this into the project. So I'm just going to go here to load into project. I think I've done everything. Yeah, I think I did. So that's project 2, click OK. I didn't save it, but you get the point. Now let's go to the 3D view. I think it's this one. Let's delete this one, and then let's go to architecture, component. Yeah, there we go. So 1.2.3.10. There we go. We have our canopy. Okay, let's try -1 meter. Apply. Okay, I think I've placed this one on the other way around, but it's cool. It looks like a sail. So if I just change this into 1, it should fix it. There we go. Perhaps 1 is a bit too much. So there we go, we have our canopy. So those are the approaches to creating canopies and tensile structures in Revit. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more, please check out that course or those courses. And of course you can find I have like 130 hours of content. I have many courses for many different skill levels and many different topics. So if you're interested, please check it out. It's just going to be below this video in the description. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.